I can explain everything.
You're under arrest for fraud. Stand up, keep your hands where I can see them.
Watch closely. This is Rhodesia. October 8, 2025. Midtown Detroit, Michigan. 7:45 in the morning. A young woman is still asleep in her apartment. The BMW is gone, repossessed months ago. The designer bags sit unworn in her closet. She is 2 months behind on rent. 3 hard knocks echo through the thin apartment walls. She shuffles to the door in sweatpants and a silk headscarf. She looks through the peephole. She sees a badge. She opens the door anyway. The girl who stole from her own customers. Dual narrator version. Full English script. October 8, 2025. Midtown Detroit, Michigan. 7:45 in the morning. A young woman is still asleep in her apartment. The BMW is gone, repossessed months ago. The designer bags sit unworn in her closet. She is 2 months behind on rent. 3 hard knocks echo through the thin apartment walls. She shuffles to the door in sweatpants and a silk headscarf. She looks through the peephole. She sees a badge. She opens the door anyway. I grew up watching my mother sit at the kitchen table every Sunday night with a calculator and a stack of bills, stress carved into the lines around her face, whispering to my father about which utilities might get cut off first, which grocery store had the best sales that week. I told myself I would never be that woman. I promised myself I would finish school, get a real job, build something. When I got that call from PNC, I cried. I actually cried. Health insurance, a 401k, a nameplate on a counter. I thought I had made it. I thought I had finally made it. And then 7 weeks later, I took $400 from a 73-year-old man who had worked 41 years on an assembly line. I told myself it was just once. I told myself he wouldn't notice. I told myself I would pay it back. I never paid it back. I just kept going. When the detective knocked on my door that morning, I kept saying, "Please, just give me time. I can pay it back. My mom doesn't even know." But it was too late for all of that. Rhodesia Jones, bank teller, 25 years old, trusted with the savings accounts of elderly customers who greeted her by name and brought cookies at Christmas. And the woman who spent 11 months systematically stealing $80,000 from 23 of them, targeting the oldest, the loneliest, and the ones least likely to check their statements. This is the story of a system built on trust. A young woman who found the gap inside it, and a daughter in Chicago who flew home to help her mother with taxes and found 7 withdrawals that should not have existed. Rhodesia Jones was born in 1999 in Detroit, Michigan, the youngest of 3 children in a 2-bedroom apartment on the city's east side. Her mother Linda worked double shifts as a certified nursing assistant, leaving before dawn, returning long after dark. Her father Terrence drove delivery trucks until a back injury forced him onto disability when Rhodesia was 12. After that, the checks got smaller and the arguments got louder. Rhodesia learned early what it meant to stretch a dollar, what it meant to wear her sister's hand-me-downs 3 years out of style, what it meant to tell friends she wasn't hungry when the refrigerator held nothing but condiments. She watched her older brother drop out in 11th grade to work at a tire shop. She watched her older sister get pregnant at 17. And she told herself, she promised herself, she would be different. She would finish. She would never sit at that kitchen table doing that math. She was a quiet student at Cass Technical High School, one of Detroit's elite magnet schools. Her teachers described her as diligent and eager to please. Not at the top of her class, but she showed up every day, did her homework, kept her head down, and kept her eyes on the finish line. After graduating in 2017, Rhodesia enrolled at Henry Ford Community College part-time, studying business administration while working as a cashier at a Kroger on 8 Mile Road for $11.50 an hour. 4 years of scanning groceries and bagging produce while her high school classmates posted pictures from universities she could not afford. In early 2023, everything changed. She saw a job posting for a teller position at PNC Bank. Starting salary, $17.50 an hour. Health insurance. A 401k with company match. 2 weeks of paid vacation. She applied the same day she saw the listing. 2 weeks later, she got the call. Her training began in June 2023. 3 weeks at PNC's Regional Training Center in Southfield. Cash handling procedures. Customer service protocols. Fraud detection basics. Transaction verification systems. Her evaluations were strong. Supervisors noted she was quick to learn, comfortable with repetitive tasks, demonstrated strong attention to detail and professional demeanor beyond her experience level. On June 26, 2023, Rhodesia Jones reported for her first shift at PNC Bank Branch 4471 on Big Beaver Road in Detroit, Michigan. She was 24 years old. She had health insurance for the first time in her life. She had a 401k. She had a nameplate and a drawer full of cash she was trusted to manage. She had made it. That feeling would last exactly 7 weeks. Branch 4471 sits in a strip mall in Troy, one of the wealthiest suburbs in Michigan. The median household income in Troy exceeds $100,000. The customers at this branch were professionals, retirees, small business owners, families with substantial savings built over decades of careful accumulation. Many of them, especially the older ones, had been banking at this branch for 30 years. They knew the tellers by name. They brought cookies at Christmas. They asked about families and remembered birthdays. They trusted the people behind that counter the way they trusted their doctors. That trust was the foundation of everything. Every transaction at PNC is supposed to follow a strict verification protocol. Customer presents ID. Teller verifies against account holder information. Withdrawal amount confirmed verbally. Customer signs a withdrawal slip. Transaction processed. Account updated in real time. Every step documented. Every step traceable. But there is a vulnerability built into this system, one that exists by design. Tellers have the ability to process transactions without the customer physically present. This capability exists for legitimate purposes, correcting errors, processing adjustments, handling administrative tasks. The system assumes tellers will only use this capability for its intended purposes. The oversight mechanism is daily cash reconciliation. At the end of every shift, each teller's drawer must balance against the day's transactions. Any discrepancy over $50 triggers an automatic flag to the branch manager. But here is the flaw. If the transactions themselves are recorded correctly, if the money taken is logged as a legitimate customer withdrawal, the drawer balances perfectly. The thief and the record keeper are the same person. The final assumption, the one the whole system rests on, is that customers will notice unauthorized withdrawals on their statements and report them immediately. These assumptions were catastrophically wrong. The first unauthorized withdrawal occurred on August 14, 2023. The amount was $400. The account belonged to Harold Petton, a 73-year-old retired General Motors auto worker who had worked 41 years at the Hamtramck assembly plant. He came in every month to deposit his pension check and withdraw cash for expenses. Same time. Same small talk about the Tigers or the weather. Rhodesia had helped him at least half a dozen times in her first weeks. She knew his account number by heart. She knew his balance hovered around $34,000, a lifetime of savings. She knew he rarely checked his online banking because he didn't trust computers. She knew he preferred paper statements he sometimes didn't open for weeks. She knew he lived alone in Warren. His wife Margaret had passed away 3 years earlier. His children had scattered to Phoenix and Tampa and Chicago, visiting only on holidays if the flights weren't too expensive. She knew he was perfect. She processed the withdrawal during a quiet Wednesday afternoon. Branch nearly empty. Supervisor on a late lunch. The system recorded it as a standard withdrawal. Her drawer balanced at the end of the day. She put $400 in her purse. She clocked out. She drove home. She waited. 2 weeks later, Harold Petton came in to deposit his September pension check. He made small talk about his tomato plants. Collected his receipt. Said nothing about the missing $400. Either he hadn't noticed, or he had noticed and assumed he must have made the withdrawal himself and forgotten. He was 73 years old. He didn't trust his own memory the way he used to. That was when Rhodesia understood she could do this again. She developed a system. She targeted accounts belonging to elderly customers, people who came in infrequently, who preferred paper statements over online banking, who lived alone or whose family members lived far away. She never took more than $1,200 from any single account in any single month. She spread the withdrawals across different accounts, never hitting the same customer twice in the same week. She kept mental notes on who checked their balances obsessively and who didn't, which customers had adult children monitoring their finances, and which ones were truly alone. By October 2023, $8,400 stolen from 7 accounts. By December, $19,200 from 12 accounts. By February 2024, over $35,000 from 18 separate victims. Her lifestyle changed in ways her coworkers could not help but notice. She moved out of her mother's apartment on the east side and into a one-bedroom in Midtown Detroit. Rent, $1,400 a month. She bought a used 2021 BMW 3 Series. She started shopping at Somerset Collection instead of Walmart, carrying bags from Nordstrom and Sephora. Designer handbags. Manicures every 2 weeks at a salon in Royal Oak. When coworkers asked how she could afford all of it on a teller's salary, she had an answer ready. Social media marketing. A side business. A few clients. She was hustling. Side gigs were the only way to get ahead these days. They believed her. No one at the bank asked how a 24-year-old teller earning $36,400 a year could suddenly afford a BMW and a midtown apartment and a closet full of designer goods. No one connected the dots. No one even saw there were dots to connect. Dorothy Kaczynski was 81 years old. She had been a customer at the Troy PNC branch for over 30 years, since before it was PNC, back when it was National City Bank, and before that something else she couldn't quite remember anymore. Her late husband Walter had opened the account in 1987, the year they paid off the mortgage on their house in Clawson and decided they finally had enough money to need a real saving strategy. Walter passed in 2019. Heart attack. Sudden. No warning. After that, Dorothy's daughter Michelle, who lived in Chicago, had taken over helping with the finances. She visited every few months. Paid her mother's bills online. Made sure the taxes got handled on time. And every April, she flew home to help her mother prepare her taxes. In late April 2024, Michelle Kaczynski sat down at her mother's kitchen table with a stack of bank statements and a calculator. It was supposed to take an hour. Maybe 2. That was when she noticed the discrepancies. 0.7 unauthorized withdrawals over the previous 8 months, $800 in September. $600 in October. $900 in November. Then nothing in December. Her mother had actually visited the branch that month, which must have spooked whoever was doing this. Then $1,200 in January. $700 in February. $1,100 in March. $800 in April. Total, $6,100 gone from her mother's savings account. In transactions her mother had never made. Michelle looked up from the statements. "Mom, did you withdraw cash from your savings account on any of these dates?" Dorothy shook her head slowly. "I haven't been to the bank since December, honey. I do everything automatic now like you set up. Why would I need cash?" Michelle called PNC's fraud hotline at 4:47 that afternoon. Within 72 hours, PNC's fraud investigation team pulled the complete transaction records for Dorothy Kaczynski's savings account. They isolated the 7 disputed withdrawals. They cross-referenced each one against the teller station that processed it. Every single withdrawal had come from the same station. Station 3. Branch 4471. Troy, Michigan. They pulled the staffing schedules. They matched the timestamps to the employees working those shifts. Every single unauthorized withdrawal had been processed by the same person. Rhodesia Jones. The investigators expanded their search. They pulled every transaction Rhodesia had processed since her start date in June 2023. They found withdrawals from accounts where the customer hadn't visited the branch that day. Withdrawals processed during hours when the account holder was documented elsewhere. Accounts being drained in increments just small enough to avoid triggering any automatic review. By May 1, 2024, 34 suspicious transactions. Approximately $80,000, 23 separate customer accounts compromised. Average victim age, 76 years old. They contacted the Michigan State Police Financial Crimes Unit. Detective Marcus Webb received the referral on May 3, 2024. A 22-year veteran. Over 100 financial crime cases on his record. He subpoenaed her personal banking records from every financial institution in Michigan. What he found was the smoking gun. Rhodesia Jones maintained a personal checking account at Huntington Bank, a completely different institution from PNC. Over the previous 11 months, that account had received a series of cash deposits that matched the unauthorized PNC withdrawals with damning precision. $400 deposited on August 15, the day after the first theft from Harold Peton. $600 deposited on September 28. $800 deposited on October 12. Deposit after deposit, withdrawal after withdrawal. The numbers lining up like a confession written in arithmetic. Her total reported income for 2023 was $36,400. Her PNC salary and nothing else. But her bank deposits for the same period exceeded $72,000. The gap, $35,600, was almost exactly the amount stolen from PNC customers that year. He pulled her tax returns. She had not declared a single dollar of the stolen money as income. On May 8, 2024, Rhodesia Jones was terminated from PNC Bank. Called into the branch manager's office at 2:15 in the afternoon, told her employment was being terminated effective immediately. Escorted from the building by security. Her access badges confiscated. Her personal belongings boxed up and handed to her in the parking lot. She drove home to her Midtown apartment and waited for the knock she knew would eventually come. It took 17 months. Those 17 months were not kind. The BMW was repossessed after 3 missed payments, towed from her parking lot at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday in September 2024. She burned through her savings trying to maintain the lifestyle she had built on stolen money. When the savings ran out, she burned through her credit cards. 2 months behind on rent. 14 job applications in the past year. 2 callbacks. Turns out banks talk to each other. Turns out, terminated for fiduciary misconduct, is the kind of phrase that follows you. The designer handbags sat in her closet, unworn, too recognizable to sell, too painful to look at. On October 8, 2025, Detective Marcus Webb knocked on the door of her Midtown apartment at 7:45 in the morning. She looked through the peephole. She opened the door anyway. She begged. She bargained. She said she could pay it back. She said her mother didn't even know. She asked if she could call her first. The handcuffs went on at 7:52 a.m. She was walked down the hallway, into the elevator, through the lobby where a neighbor pretended not to watch, and into the back of an unmarked sedan. The BMW. The apartment. The designer bags. The nails. The confidence. All of it purchased with money stolen from people who had trusted her. All of it gone. On October 9, 2025, Rhodesia Jones was arraigned on 3 felony charges. 1 count of embezzlement from a financial institution, a 20-year felony. 2 counts of tax fraud, each carrying up to 5 years. The Michigan Attorney General announced the charges publicly. The statement read, "Consumers must be able to trust those who handle their finances. When vulnerable people are targeted by the very individuals tasked with protecting their assets, we will pursue justice relentlessly." She faces up to 25 years in state prison if convicted on all charges. Full restitution of $80,000, plus interest, plus court costs. A felony record that will follow her for the rest of her life. She will never work in banking again. Harold Peton, The 73-year-old retired auto worker whose $400 was the test case that started it all, provided a statement to investigators. I worked 41 years on that line. 41 years. And I saved what I could, every paycheck, because that's what you do. And this girl, she just took it. Like it was nothing. Like I was nothing. Michelle Kaczynski, the daughter whose diligence uncovered everything, released her own statement. My mother is 81 years old. She worked her entire life. She saved every penny she could. This woman, this person my mother trusted, who my mother probably said good morning to dozens of times, stole from her like it was nothing. My mother doesn't have time to earn that money back. She trusted that bank. She trusted that teller. And look what happened. Look what happens when no one is watching. 3 of the 23 victims have died since the thefts occurred, never knowing their accounts had been drained by someone they greeted by name. The youngest victim was 68 years old. The oldest, 89. PNC Bank, following the investigation, initiated a review of its internal protocols, examining whether transactions processed by a teller against accounts with no branch visit that day should trigger automatic supervisory review. The gap Rhodesia Jones exploited was not hidden. It was structural, built into the system from the beginning. 23 elderly people. 11 months. $80,000. A young woman who had everything she had ever worked for, a real job, a real future, a way out of everything she had grown up in. And she threw it all away. Not all at once. Not in one desperate moment of weakness. But methodically. Deliberately. Over 334 days, calculating which customers were most alone, most trusting, least likely to notice. She told herself she wasn't really stealing. She told herself she would pay it back. She never paid it back. If you have an elderly parent or grandparent with a bank account, sit down with them and review their statements. Not once a year. Every month. Set up account alerts on their phone. Enable email notifications for every transaction over $50. One phone call. One conversation. That is all it takes. Because the person who catches this kind of fraud is almost never the bank. It is almost always a daughter at a kitchen table with a calculator in April, refusing to assume that everything adds up. Dorothy Kaczynski trusted that bank for 30 years. One person finally paid attention. One person noticed. That is all it took. The case is pending in Oakland County Circuit Court. 23 victims are still waiting for full restitution. 3 of them will never see it. Rhodesia Jones is 25 years old. She had everything she said she wanted, $400 at a time, she gave it all away.